Have you ever stood in the doorway of a familiar home, the one where your mother raised you, where the walls still whisper memories, and suddenly felt like something was different? The furniture hasn't moved. The photos are still there, but your parent, once so strong, sharp, and independent, now seems fragile. Maybe your dad left the stove on last week. Maybe your mom forgot to pay the electricity bill for the first time in 40 years. Or maybe you've noticed bruises she can't explain and won't talk about. It's subtle at first. A missed medication, a call you forgot to return, a conversation that doesn't quite make sense. You try to ignore it. You rationalize, she's just tired. He's getting older, but he's fine. But deep down, you've started to wonder, is it still safe for them to live alone? How much longer can we keep doing this by ourselves? Am I overreacting or already too late? These are the questions that keep millions of adult children up at night, and they're not easy to answer, because this isn't just about health and safety. It's about identity, pride, control, and love, the kind of love that aches with guilt, fear, and uncertainty. In today's video, we'll guide you gently and clearly through the signs that might suggest it's time for extra help. We'll talk about physical and cognitive changes that go unnoticed until they become dangerous. We'll show you the silent risks hiding in everyday routines. We'll explore the impact of isolation, not just on your loved one, but on you. We'll also talk about what options really exist, because assisted living doesn't have to mean losing independence. In fact, it can mean gaining back safety, dignity, and peace of mind. You'll hear about families just like yours: Margaret, whose father started skipping meals; Robert, who tried to hide his memory loss from his adult daughter; and Angela, who gave everything to care for her mom until she had nothing left for herself. This isn't a video of judgment. This is a video of clarity, of compassion, of informed decisions made with grace and courage. So if you're here today searching for answers, you're in the right place. By the end, you'll understand what to look for, what steps to take, and how to move forward without fear and without shame. Because asking for help, recognizing when something needs to change, that's not weakness. It's strength, it's wisdom, and it's love in its most powerful, enduring form. Let's begin. It often begins with the smallest shifts, the ones we dismiss, the ones we chalk up to just aging. But not all changes are harmless. Some are quiet warnings, and recognizing them early can make all the difference. Let's talk about the physical and cognitive changes that may signal a need for more support, whether that means help at home or the beginning of a transition toward assisted living. Imagine Margaret. She's 81, widowed, and has always been fiercely independent. She used to walk to the store, tend her garden, cook for her grandchildren. Lately, though, she's been stumbling. Nothing major, just a trip here, a bruise there. Her daughter noticed she grips the furniture when she walks through the hallway. And then there's the hygiene. Margaret, once meticulous with her appearance, has started wearing the same clothes for days. Her hair is often unbrushed. Her bathroom smells of urine. She forgets small things: where she put her keys, whether she took her blood pressure pills. But she insists, "I'm fine, just a little forgetful." These signs, frequent falls, poor hygiene, missed medications, are not just aging. They can be red flags. Let's break it down more clearly. Common physical signs that someone may need help include unexplained bruises or frequent falls, weight loss, or signs of malnutrition, difficulty with mobility, trouble standing, walking, or using stairs, poor personal hygiene, incontinence, or trouble managing the bathroom. Cognitive warning signs include memory lapses that interfere with daily life, confusion about time, place, or familiar people, getting lost in familiar places, difficulty following conversations, repeating stories, questions, or phrases. Sometimes these changes happen slowly, like a light dimming. Other times, they arrive after a major health event, a stroke, a fall, a hospitalization. In both cases, they signal something bigger. What makes this stage so difficult is that the person may not notice or may deny the decline. Often, they're afraid of losing control, of being put somewhere, of becoming invisible. That's why families need to observe with compassion, not with blame or pressure, but with gentle awareness. Start by keeping a log. Write down what you see, when it happens, how often. Patterns matter. And most importantly, talk to their doctor. A professional assessment can identify not just what's changing, but why. It could be dementia. It could be medication side effects. It could be loneliness. Whatever the cause, don't wait until a crisis forces your hand. Because when it comes to health and independence, being proactive is the most loving thing you can do. It's easy to think of home as the safest place in the world, but as we age, even the most familiar spaces can become dangerous. In fact, for many older adults, the home can slowly turn into a silent trap, not out of neglect, but because aging changes how we interact with our environment. Let's return to Margaret. After her daughter noticed the bruises, she began paying closer attention. She saw that her mom had stopped using the shower and was only sponge bathing at the sink. Why? Because the bathroom floor was too slippery. There were no grab bars, and she was too afraid to fall again. Margaret had also burned her hand on the stove 2 weeks earlier. She forgot she had turned on the wrong burner. And her once stocked pantry, now mostly empty. She no longer drives and doesn't trust delivery apps. What may seem like little things, a dim hallway, cluttered floors, expired food, can add up to major safety risks. Here are some of the most common hidden dangers inside the home. Falls, the number one cause of injury among older adults. Loose rugs, poor lighting, and steep stairs can be life-threatening. Kitchen accidents, burns from the stove, knife injuries, or forgotten appliances left on. Arthritis or tremors can make handling utensils difficult. Bathroom risks, slippery tiles, lack of support bars, scalding water, and limited mobility. Many elders avoid bathing out of fear. Malnutrition and dehydration, not from lack of food, but from difficulty preparing meals, forgetting to eat, or fear of choking. Medication errors, taking the wrong dose or skipping medications altogether, especially when memory begins to decline. Wandering or confusion at night, especially in early dementia, leaving doors unlocked, turning on appliances, or getting lost in their own home. Even technology becomes a hazard. Microwaves are misused. Phones go unanswered. Smart home devices go ignored. So what can families do? Start with a home safety assessment. Some hospitals, clinics, or senior centers offer this service. Others use occupational therapists who can visit the home and identify risk areas. Simple modifications can make a huge difference, Install grab bars in the bathroom, add brighter lighting, remove tripping hazards, organize medications with clear labels, use appliances with auto shut off. But here's the deeper truth. If the home requires more modifications than what's realistic, or if the person no longer feels safe even with those changes, then it may be time to ask a bigger question. Is staying here still the best option? Home is more than a building. It's a feeling, but safety must come first. And sometimes the most loving choice is not insisting they stay, but helping them move with dignity and care. There's a kind of silence that no home modification can fix. It's the silence of loneliness. And for many older adults, it's louder than we think. Social isolation doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like an unopened letter, or a phone that rings and rings but goes unanswered. After Margaret's husband passed, the phone calls slowed. Friends stopped visiting. Her church attendance became less frequent. She said she just didn't feel up to it. And gradually, the days began to blend into each other. She stopped baking, stopped going outside, stopped laughing. What most people don't realize is that isolation can be as dangerous to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yes, that's what studies from the CDC and NIH show. Loneliness increases the risk of heart disease, depression and anxiety, cognitive decline and dementia, poor immune function, higher mortality. And it doesn't just affect the mind. It affects motivation, nutrition, medication adherence, self-worth. Some elders will say, "I like being alone." But there's a difference between solitude and isolation. Ask yourself, do they have meaningful social interactions at least a few times a week? Do they still participate in hobbies or community activities? Are they showing signs of apathy or withdrawal? Even phone calls and virtual visits can't fully replace real human connection. This is where assisted living communities can offer something invaluable: social infrastructure, places where neighbors are within arm's reach, where meals are shared, not eaten alone in silence, where activities bring music, movement, and laughter back into daily life. It's not about forcing someone into a new environment. It's about recognizing that connection heals, and that the human spirit at any age needs to feel seen, heard, and valued. Families often underestimate how deeply isolation is affecting their loved one, especially when they themselves are busy, stressed, or far away. But sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't what your parent is doing, it's what they've stopped doing. Stopped engaging, stopped reaching out, stopped caring. When you notice the joy disappearing from their life, that's not just old age. That's a sign, a quiet cry for help, and it deserves to be answered with presence, with care, and sometimes with a new chapter. If you're a family caregiver, this part is for you, because while we often focus on the elder's needs, there's another story unfolding quietly, yours. At first, it feels like love in action. You step in to help with groceries, bills, appointments. Just a few hours a week. Then it becomes mornings, then nights, then everything in between. Angela, for example, thought she could manage her mother's care after her stroke. She adjusted her work schedule, cut back on social plans, and set up a medication chart. But as the weeks turned into months, she stopped sleeping through the night. Her own doctor warned her about rising blood pressure. She hadn't taken a full day for herself in almost a year. She was exhausted, irritable, guilty, and still she kept saying, "I should be able to do this. She's my mother." That's what makes caregiving so emotionally complex. Because the weight you carry doesn't just sit on your shoulders, it lives in your heart. The National Alliance for Caregiving reports that nearly 60% of family caregivers show signs of burnout, stress, or clinical depression. That's more than half. And yet, many won't ask for help. They worry it's selfish. They fear they'll be judged. They believe they're the only ones who can provide the right care. But here's the truth. Caregiver burnout helps no one. Not you, not your loved one, and certainly not your relationship. What are the warning signs? Constant fatigue, even after rest, irritability or resentment, changes in appetite or sleep, feelings of hopelessness, withdrawing from friends and activities, neglecting your own health. If you recognize yourself in these, it's time to pause, to breathe, to consider what support really means. Asking for help doesn't mean failure. It means you care enough to make sure your loved one is supported not just now, but sustainably. Sometimes that means bringing in a part-time nurse. Sometimes it means enrolling in adult daycare. Sometimes it means exploring assisted living, not out of surrender, but out of respect for everyone's well-being. Conversations around this shift can be difficult. Guilt will try to convince you you're giving up, but what you're actually doing is giving both of you a chance to live again, to move from survival to something better. And that's not selfish. That's love in its most honest form. Sometimes knowing something needs to change is the easy part. What's hard is figuring out what to do next. This is where professional evaluation becomes a critical step, because when emotions are high and decisions feel overwhelming, you need more than instincts, you need clarity. Let's go back to Margaret. Her daughter, Emily, had been noticing the signs, the memory loss, the hygiene changes, the isolation, but she wasn't sure what was normal aging and what wasn't. So she booked a geriatric assessment. It included a physical exam, a cognitive evaluation, and a functional mobility test. They also met with a social worker who asked questions Emily hadn't even thought about. Does Margaret feel safe at home? Is she eating enough? Does she remember to turn off appliances? Is she managing her money? By the end of the session, Emily had something she hadn't had in months: a plan. What does a proper assessment include? Medical review, chronic conditions, medications, sensory loss, cognitive screening, memory, problem solving, communication, functional capacity, can they cook, clean, bathe, manage medications, mental health screening, depression, anxiety, emotional well-being, social evaluation, support system, daily structure, potential for isolation. These evaluations can be done through a geriatrician, a primary care provider, or specialized clinics. In many regions, local councils on aging also provide support or referrals. And once you have the facts, you can start planning, not reacting. Planning doesn't mean rushing into change. It means giving yourself time to think through options. It might begin with small supports: a housekeeper, a part-time home health aide, or Meals on Wheels. Then, as needs increase, you can explore adult day programs, companion care, in-home nursing, memory care services, assisted living, community. What matters is that each step feels intentional, not desperate. That your loved one is part of the process, as much as possible. That their voice is heard. Use this moment to talk openly. What would make you feel safe? What are you afraid of losing? How can we make this next chapter feel like a continuation of your life, not the end of it? And most importantly, don't wait for a crisis. The best decisions are made before the hospital visit, before the fall, before the emergency call in the middle of the night. Planning is peace, and peace in times like these is a gift to everyone involved. Once you've recognized the need and gathered the facts, comes one of the hardest and most important steps: choosing the right kind of help. And here's the truth: there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Every family is different. Every elder has unique needs, preferences, fears, and values. Let's start by understanding the options. Home care best for those who want to stay in their own home with support. Includes help with meals, hygiene, medications, or companionship. Ideal for mild to moderate needs with family oversight. Independent living residential communities designed for seniors who are still active and independent, but want a social setting and some conveniences like meal plans, housekeeping, and security. Assisted living, a step up from independent living, offers personal care assistance, bathing, dressing, medication management with 24/7 staff, social activities, and private apartments. Great for those who want freedom but need daily support. Memory care, specialized environments for those with Alzheimer's or dementia. Structured routines, trained staff, secured areas. Promotes safety, calm, and dignity. Skilled nursing facilities, nursing homes for those with complex medical needs requiring full-time care. Includes physical therapy, wound care, and medication supervision, often short-term after hospitalization or long-term for chronic conditions. So, how do you choose? Start by answering key questions. What are their current physical, emotional, and cognitive needs? Do they value privacy or social engagement more? How close should the facility be to family? What cultural or spiritual preferences should be honored? What is the long-term financial reality? Margaret and her daughter Emily toured 3 assisted living communities. The first was too clinical, it felt cold, too much like a hospital. The second had beautiful grounds, but few residents her age. The third, it had a garden, a small library, weekly music nights. And when Margaret walked in, someone greeted her by name. That's when she smiled. Visit in person if you can. Observe how staff interact with residents. Ask questions about care plans, activities, emergencies, and meals. Eat lunch there. Look into residents' eyes. Are they engaged? Does it feel like a place your loved one could call home? And remember, involve your parent in the decision as much as possible. Let them tour. Let them speak. Let them feel heard. This isn't about taking control. It's about building a future that feels safe and respectful. And if there's resistance, and there often is, listen first. Behind the no is often fear, fear of abandonment, of change, of being forgotten. But you can counter that fear with information, with love, and with reassurance that what matters most isn't the place, it's the people who walk through it with them. Choosing care is a big decision, but when it's made with patience and purpose, it becomes something beautiful, a bridge from fear to peace. So here we are, after all the signs, all the questions, all the emotions. You may still be wondering, how do I really know when it's time? And the truth is, there's no calendar date, no alarm bell, no single moment that shouts, now is the time. More often, it's a quiet accumulation, a gentle series of moments that whisper, they're not thriving anymore. You're stretched too thin. Something needs to change. And that's okay. Making the decision to seek more help, whether through in-home care or assisted living, isn't about giving up. It's about stepping up. It's about love taking a new shape, one that includes safety, support, and shared strength. Yes, it's hard. There may be resistance. There may be guilt. There may be tears. But also, there will be relief. There will be breathing room. There will be laughter again, not from exhaustion, but from joy. There will be moments when you walk in, and instead of checking the medicine cabinet, you simply sit, hold hands, talk about anything and everything, Because now, someone else is helping you carry the weight. And that's not a betrayal of love, it's an extension of it. If you've been struggling in silence, let this video be your permission to speak, to plan, to ask for help. Start with a conversation, with a doctor, with a sibling, with your parent. Ask the questions you've been afraid to ask. Share what's on your heart. Be honest and be gentle, because you are not alone, and your loved one deserves to age with dignity, just as you deserve to support them without breaking yourself in the process. In the end, this journey isn't about endings. It's about new beginnings for them and for you. Take that next step not out of fear, but out of love, out of courage, out of the quiet knowing that says, it's time.